So we're working on changing out the suspension on my Bronco. I had the 4-wheel part suspension on here that was just a coilover and the upper control arms. That system had some miles on it, so I just decided to swap it out. We have the Falcon 3.5-inch lift that I just put on it with the Ready Lift upper control arms. With just some basic tools, you can do this. You're basically going to need a set of 21, 22, 24, 16, 17, 12, and 10 millimeter wrenches. And you can do this. I'm probably about an hour and a half on this side. That's what taking the fender liner out, cleaning the lower control arm, and cleaning the suspension as we go. One of the troubles that I had early on was getting those bolts out. And what happened is I had a lot of corrosion in there just from all the salt and years of grime. So that took some time cleaning them out with a brush and some parts cleaner. And I finally got it out where I could get the Falcon bolts in there. I didn't have to take this off. I basically just took the tie rod end off, took it off up there, took the lower control arm off, then put the strut in. After I put the strut in, I went ahead and put the upper control arms in, and then put it all back together. I will have to get an alignment. My alignment's a little bit off. Some reason my marker that I used wasn't a paint marker, and that wasn't the best idea because I lost it when I took it off for the lower control arm. But we're gonna go ahead and get the other side done. This is the driver's side. Okay, I just put on the new track bar bracket. It was really easy to do. That is the new track bar. And that bar is really beefy. It is adjustable, as you can see the mark right there that makes it adjustable with the nut and place for your wrench. Then it has a bracket up there with the Altera. That's all billet. It's really nice. So it's just loose right now. Well, we're about ready to start pulling the rear shocks off. So I'm going to go ahead and start on the left side there. And we're going to just keep moving along the instructions. There's a brake line we have to extend. There's a bracket right there. So we're just going to extend the bracket up. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. This is the bracket that we're going to be putting on. It's that red one in the instructions, but it's going to go in this orientation. And what we're going to do is take that silver bracket there and put it underneath there, and we're going to extend that up. All right, right there's the brake line, and you have to take a body puller, and there's a plastic clip right here. You have to lift this up and pry this off, and then what you're going to do is you're going to get rid of this piece so you can bolt the new adapter to this piece and to this piece. So the adapter is on and the brake lines have been raised. Those top bolts are 13 millimeter and the bottoms are 10. And then you just have a nut under there and then two under there that you'll have to put on. Okay, the bracket's installed. The bracket's going to have two holes at the top. The smaller hole goes on the left side towards the driver. That is so that that black factory clip can clip into the metal harness. And these are going to be 8 millimeter bolts. The rear shocks are on. I just want to make sure that when you're doing this on the ground, having two jack stands is going to be really important to have, and then two jacks as well. The articulation on this rear axle, when you take it the bolt out, it's going to want to catch on that lower hanger. So what we did is go ahead and take the bolt out with the tires on, with the track bar on there, and then pull the bolt out on the ground. If you try to lift this, what's going to happen is that bolt's going to kick off to the side and get pinched in that bracket. So that was the easiest way that we could do that. But we did this lift on the ground in my garage, and here it is finished. It looks awesome. Really happy with the way it turned out. I'm gonna spend today with some citrus cleaner and clean everything up. I went off-roading before this trip, so just have some dirt and stuff. Gonna take the tires off, clean out my brakes, and get everything ready for the show next week. But this is how it turned out. So there's tons of tire clearance in there. When I measured this, it was right at 8 inches from the top of that tire right there to here, 8 inches. It's got a really nice stance to it now. We're about a 1/2 inch high in the front. I don't know how to adjust that down. There's no adjustability as far as like a coil that you would crank down like my previous system, but I'm pretty happy with this. Here's the front view. The ready lift upper control arms are pretty awesome. A lot of tunability there. You can also rebuild these. But this Bronco has 62,000 miles on it. So hopefully I can get some mileage out of this one, just like I did with the previous lift, but having it where I can rebuild it's gonna be really nice. My camera is mounted to a Tackform dash system, so you're basically going to feel pretty much how smooth this truck is. I'm not getting a ton of vibration like I was with the four-wheel part suspension that we had. That suspension, you could pretty much feel every bump in the road. You can feel the harshness of the mud tire. With this suspension, it's quite different. I am not getting a lot of the vibration through the steering system that I was before. We're about ready to go over a railroad track here. You'll see how nice this transition between the road and the railroad track is right now. Just absorbs it. It's really crazy how well this suspension absorbs bumps. Right now we have it on a 3-2 setting. So the red dial is at 3 and the small dial is at 2. It's gonna come in the box with a 3-4 setting. I did like that setting, but you can tell the difference as you start to go down. We have tested lower settings with having the sway bar in the front and no sway bar in the rear. This is a 2021 Big Ben. At different compression settings on the road, you can feel more body roll. The suspension is a lot softer. I do want to try possibly a 2.9 setting for a little while and see how that goes as far as being on the street. I've had this suspension on now for a couple of weeks and I really like it. I'm not hearing anything out of the abnormal with the suspension.
When I go over bumps, obviously it does a great job, and it feels like the faster you drive the suspension, the more it likes it. I haven't gotten it on a trail yet. Our first trail is going to be this weekend. We're going to go back to the byway and do the off-road event there in Kentucky, and then we're going to put it on some softer settings to see how it handles off-road conditions. Now, when we talk about the installation, I did the installation on my garage floor with just jack stands and some simple hand wrenches, torque wrenches, and a 1/2-inch drive. I didn't have to go out and buy any special tools to do the lift myself. It's been the only time I've ever put on a lift by myself was this one. I did run into one problem, and it's nothing that the suspension was the issue. My issue was my lower control arm bolts were seized up. I was able to get 3 out of the 4 out, so 2 on each side. And then as I was beating one of the bolts out, the bolt mushroomed over and I couldn't get it out. So I took it to a friend's shop where he was able to cut the bolt off, the mushroom part, and push the bolt out with an air hammer. And then what we had to do is clean the holes up. They had a lot of corrosion in there. There was a lot of dirt and just salt from being in Ohio. It basically turned into like concrete matter on the inside. So once I got all of that cleaned out, pretty much the suspension install went very smooth. The upper control arms were easy to align. The caps that you're going to install were easy to bolt up. And the one thing I really liked about this install was the directions were amazing. A lot of great photos. The directions were very clear. The torque specs were easy to find. I was easy to collect the tools that I needed before the install. I wasn't really hunting around or trying to guess what they were showing in the pictures. And I find that very valuable if you're doing your install in your garage on the weekend like I did, because their technical support is going to be closed on the weekend. Ready Lift is a pretty much 9 to 5 company, but if you have questions, you're pretty much going to have to wait till Monday to get those questions answered. And when I initially had the problem with the lower control arm bolts, I thought that the ones that they sent were too big, but really my issue is that I had so much corrosion in there. The bolt size difference was really impacting our first attempt to install this. As you'll see on the channel, we tried to do this live, and when we got a few of them off, the stud plate that holds the shock actually to the lower control arm looked really big versus the holes when we took the stock bolts out, because there was so much corrosion. But after we got past that corrosion, really I had no problems with this install at all. I think you should attempt to do the install yourself. If you have a newer vehicle, I don't think you're going to have any problems at all. If you have an older one like I do, I have 63,000 miles on my Bronco. We've been on a lot of off-road trips, and you know, the Bronco pretty much is a daily driver. That's why I went to this suspension, because it is a daily driver. I wanted something that wasn't rattling my Bronco to death, and it was smooth. So you can hear that my top isn't really creaking as bad as it was. I think that's due in part because the suspension is able to absorb a lot of that road impact, and the twisting, you know, of the road is being absorbed by these shocks. There's a pretty good rotocross about ready to cross. I'm going to cross it going 55. That's the speed limit that we're doing right now, in about 40 feet. So it's a double row cross. So here it comes. I just want to show you how this handles. So here's the crossing right now. I mean, it just floats over railroads. It's insane how well this suspension just absorbs that roughness. Again, I'm at a 3.2 setting. Steering, feel more controlled. It just handles great. I just really am happy. My other choice for this was going with an ADS suspension. Two of my, actually 3 of the guys in our Bronco group have them. And, you know, that is a suspension where you contact ADS, you tell them how much weight you're carrying, what you're doing with your Bronco, and typically how you drive it. Now, that is a full-on custom race suspension. I think for this suspension, out of the box, with my camping setup, so far, I think I got my money's worth for what I paid for it. This suspension retails for $5,300. You get the lower links, the upper control arms, and the shocks front and back. I think it's worth it. The quality of these shocks are amazing. I'm really interested to see how they're going to hold up long term, but the powder coating looks great. The reservoir looks really nice. When you handle the materials, you know, the joints in the shocks are not clunky or loose. The aluminum caps where the shock goes up through the upper control arm is really nice. I really think I got my money's worth. Here's another set of railroad tracks. This road has a ton of railroad tracks. It's pretty rough. It's not as smooth as a lot of roads, but the Bronco just eats it up. I really like it. I'm going to show you here in a few clips of how we installed this in the garage, and I'll give you a couple little tips on how to do it. But if you're questioning yourself if you should get the suspension or not, and you have the budget to do it, go ahead and do it. You're not going to regret going with the suspension. Let's go ahead and take a look at the install, and then I'll come back, and then what we'll show you at the end of this video is we'll do some drive-bys so you can just see how the Bronco is absorbing these bumps, and we'll talk more about that here. So let's go ahead and take a look at the install. When that articulation would happen, I would get a lot of lift.
There we go.
I would get a lot of lift in the rear, not getting as much as that. This trail we're on right now is just twisting, a lot of deep pulls. You got to get your tire on the right part of the trail to get up it. And this thing is just eating it up. No front locker, just a rear locker. The suspension, the 37 Yokohama Geolandar G3 MTs, and this is the perfect package. I feel like I have a rig that I can be very confident in, and I'm really enjoying it. What a perfect day to be out just wheeling. I got a Jeep Wrangler hybrid in front of us. We're out with 2 Tacomas. Wow, well, that was aggressive line. Let's see here. This rock's pretty big. I'm just gonna watch. There we go. That was awesome.
pretty gnarly. It doesn't look slick, but it's slick.
Yeah, it's still slick. It's sandy and loose. And,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
So if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe. We do like to do all of our own installs here at Bareback Broncos. If it can fit in the garage, we'll do it. If I have to do it out in the driveway, we'll work there as well. But with you guys liking and subscribing, that helps us keep our channel going. We appreciate any comments that you leave down below, and we'll see you on the next one.